Personalizing the Jamstack with Adam Lamarre.
Thanks for attending, everyone. My name is Adam Lamarre. Today I'm going to talk about personalizing the Jamstack. And one thing we hear a lot from our clients who are interested in Uniform Optimize that they really want to personalize. So I think everyone has the problem that everyone wants to do personalization in some form. And the reason for this is fairly straightforward. I think the best experience you can provide to your users and surface the most relevant content, the better their experience will be, and ultimately it'll lead to higher conversions on your site. You build that that extra connection with your visitors that you might not get from an unpersonalized site. So I think everyone wants to do personalization, but unfortunately the story around personalization kind of falls apart a little bit in practice with a lot of situations. And one of the first things is really personalization is one of the first things that seems to slip to the mythical phase 2 of a project. Even that phase 2 might not even happen, and that's that's unfortunate. I'm sure a lot of projects are still waiting for that phase 2. And with Uniform Optimize, we really hope to make it really straightforward for you to start using personalization as fast as possible, and really dip your toe into doing personalization in that phase 1, so it doesn't get pushed out to that phase 2. Some things we see as well is some personalization offerings require an origin server to do personalization, or maybe impact performance altogether. I actually recorded my experience with one of these earlier, and this is what it feels like sometimes. And there's implications to performance now. It's beyond bounce rate. Recently Google announced that they're going to start taking core web vitals, lighthouse scores, into consideration with search page ranking. So there are implications beyond just page bounce rates for performance these days, and it's becoming a mainstream thing that needs to be addressed. Another thing we see with offerings is they often require third-party cookies, and it's 2021. We shouldn't be dependent on third-party cookies at this point. Really should not be a thing that we should have to rely on. And the landscape is changing quite a bit with third-party cookies. Both Chrome and Firefox have both announced initiatives to tame third-party cookies and really restrict them with a focus on privacy. So the landscape with third-party cookies might change a lot, so we shouldn't be relying on them. So with Uniform Optimize, we really want you to have the best of both worlds. We want you to have blazing fast performance with your personalization, and we want it to be really easy to get started. And hopefully we illustrate that through this presentation, because I'm actually going to take you through a non-personalized site with Next.js and Contentful, and we're going to add personalization to it in the matter of the 30-minute demo that I have at the end of this talk. So without further ado, let's talk about Jamstack personalization. And I really want to talk about some really essential terms, and there's only 2 terms, so this is not too much here, that will really help us understand our offering and give us a basis to work on when we actually do the integration. So the first one is the word intents, and in our system, they really represent how we identify visitors to our site. So for example, somebody might be a developer, and they also might be a marketer a little bit as well. You can have multiple intents associated with visitors on your site. So these are really the way we sort of identify visitors on our site. And because not all visitors share the same intent on your site, you come to a site for a different reason. So for this fictitious conference we have here, a visitor might come to sign up for marketing talks. A visitor might come to register for the conference. And we should be able to model out personalizations to meet these different intents of our visitors. So that's what we hope to achieve with intents, and allow you full control over how you actually do that personalization. The next word is signals. And these really are the actions and behavior of the visitors on our site that really indicate, they really signal to the intent that a visitor is performing in that particular way. So signals are also not all created equal. Some signals are stronger than others. For example, if a visitor comes to your site with a UTM campaign of developer, you may decide that that is a stronger signal than a signal of them just browsing the site, consuming developer content. That might represent a bigger score than that. And you have full control over how you score these particular interactions and actually add scoring onto the intents through signals. So you can model that out. And that's all the slides for now. I have a couple slides at the end just to wrap up, but we're going to just dive into the demo and actually see what it's like to actually integrate Uniform Optimize into an existing site. So let's jump over to the code. And for this, I went ahead and I actually cloned the official Next.js contentful starter. So this is, if you're looking to do this yourself and walk through this yourself later, this is the place you'll want to start. So it doesn't come with any content by default. So I did create some lorem ipsum posts here, but ultimately these posts are themed at two different things. So we have a developer theme post, we have two developer theme posts and two marketer theme posts. And ultimately our objective with this demo is if you actually click into one of these posts and consume developer related content, then we should be able to identify that. And when you come back to this page, you should see this list personalized and sorted with sort of developer theme post first and marketer theme post last, if we're sorted with developer, and likewise if you're a marketer content. So let's go through that real quick and see what it looks like. We're going to start in Contentful. Since we already have an existing site, I modeled out in Contentful. And I haven't done anything in here yet. Let's not review the app framework quite yet. So if you go to the App Store in Contentful, we're down here at the bottom. And if you click this, and it gives you the option to install Uniform Optimize. So you'll just come in here and click Install, authorize access for the app. And at this point, it'll load a configuration screen for us. So this is the general configuration screen. There's not a ton to do in here, but we do need to set an API key for our site, and then we need to enable intent tagging on our content models after we've configured this. So let's go ahead and create that API key. You can click this link to navigate over, but I'm already signed in over here. So this is Uniform Optimize. When you're first brought in as a new user, you'll go through some onboarding flow, but I've already had an account here. So we'll just go ahead and add a new site here, and this will take us through the onboarding flow as well. So we're going to give this site a name in Uniform Optimize, and we'll just call this Contentful Demo. And you have two choices here. You can either deploy a starter site, and this actually walks you through picking the individual components of your site. So maybe you want to build your stack using Contentful, deploy to Netlify, and you want to use Google Analytics. This process will walk you through setting up one of our starters to actually get started with that stack that you specify. Your other option is right now is to actually create your first intent, which is the path we'll be going down because we already have a site. We want to integrate personalization in it. So let's just get started with creating our first intent. So we'll go ahead and click continue here. And like I said before, we want to sort of target our personalizations depending on if someone's consuming developer or marketer themed content. So let's go ahead and just call this developer. So this is our intent name, that high level name that we'll add score to when we actually consume that content. We'll add this add that intent. And at this point, we have a prompt to create our first signal. So we have many different signals that we support out of the box. Cookie, if a user has visited a page, or if a query string has been used. So you could use that for if you arbitrary query strings that users have brought into the site on maybe a UTM campaign perhaps. So that's pretty useful there. Ultimately, we're just going to do behavior right now because we want to know if somebody's viewed a particular page. So we'll use behavior to sort of represent that out with signals. So I'm just going to give it a name. We'll call it BH to represent behavior. Like I mentioned before, you do have the option of configuring the strength of the signal. So if it represents a really strong signal and really indicates the intent that this is linked to, then we'll use the slider and increase this. So we could you can make this the strongest and make sure we actually have a lot of weighting in that when it triggers. We're just gonna keep it normal for now because it'll fit our needs, but we can adjust this at any time as well. The other thing is you have the option to indicate how long a trigger of the signal sticks around for. So you can actually, there's two levels. There's sort of visitor level, which the score will stick around for as the duration of the time that state stays in storage, in local storage, and index DB. Or you have the option to do on a visit level, and we actually time out visits on the site after 20 minutes of inactivity. So you could have a score that only changed the scoring for one particular visit, and when they came back, that visit score would no longer be in effect. So you can model out some pretty unique scenarios with these options. So we'll just go ahead and create this one. Leave the defaults for now, and after this, we need to create one more for the marketer intent as well. So cool. So we have our developer intent, and now we just go ahead and need to create a marketer intent as well. So we'll just add another marketer and click save here. Now we need to add another behavior signal. So the same way we did with developer. Go ahead and click save. So if we go back to our intents list, we now have a marketer and developer intent. And that's exactly what we want. Kind of bothered by, didn't capitalize the M. Sorry. So yeah, marketer and developer intents, and so they're unpublished right now, and we actually need to do a publish to actually link this with Contentful to actually provide an API key. So we have a little prompt up here that says, create an API key to enable publishing. So we'll go ahead and click this, and we'll just call this Contentful. Click add. This will allow us to copy to clipboard. And at this point, we've published out our intents. So we went back to the intent list, did a little refresh here. It'll indicate that the intents have been published, and that's perfect. So, and when they actually get published, oh, sorry, I didn't actually press publish. That's why they weren't updated. So you do have to click publish to publish. And now they're indicating that they are published. So that's perfect at this point. So now we can jump back to Contentful. I saw that API key copied. I've done this a few times, so I have some in my history here. So, and at this point, it's recognized that we are linked to an existing site. It's telling us our signal name, and it's saying that we have two intents configured, and that looks to be expected. So I'll go ahead and click this, give this a little refresh here. At this point, we're able to start tagging our content with the intents that we created in Uniform Optimize. But in order to do that, we need to actually enable content tagging on content models in Contentful. So we'll come down here and select post. And this will actually create the field for tagging on our content model, and it'll apply the actual just appearance to this field to use the specific appearance that for tagging Contentful field. So we have our app configured now. We have intent tag configured on the actual content model itself. So we can jump over to our content and start tagging with the intents that we defined before. So this first marketing post, if you navigate in here, we have all our text, text boxes and images and stuff like that. But we have this new field down here with intent tags. And these are pulling directly from Uniform Optimize. So it's pulling directly from that API. So this is a marketer theme post. So I'm just going to select marketer here, which adds the tag. And that looks perfect. I do want to point out we have some advanced options down here. We're not going to get into these too much in this talk. But you do have the option to basically define multiple tags on here, and you can indicate, maybe you don't want this tag to be considered for behavior tracking. This is just to represent this, there's the association on this particular model. So you have the option to control that. And you also have the option to allow personalization as well. So you can control all these things down here as well. And there's this unique one down here that's disabled by default, but basically indicates that if this variant shows up in a personalized list and the user has any strength at all in this particular intent. So if somebody has an intent of marketer on the site, then this particular variant will win. So you have the ability to create those really unique scenarios in Contentful. So let's go ahead and publish that marketer tag here. We'll just do these quick. I didn't blog too much on this site, so I think this is a developer theme post. So let's publish this out. And just a lot of this stuff isn't platform specific. We do have a full integration with Content Stack as well that we are that we've developed as well. So we're really excited about that. And there's integrations you can do even with probably your CMS of choice as well. We're not tied to any particular CMS if you don't want to be. So there's that developer and one more marketer, and we'll publish that. Okay, so we have our post tagged at this point. We just tagged the post directly right now. You could have more dynamic scenarios, and we have examples of these where maybe you want to personalize a particular hero, and anytime a hero is seen on the site, maybe that particular hero pushes strength, but there's no actual strength defined on the page of itself. So if all the different components on the page push strength individually, you get sort of a composition of strength pushed when the actual site loads. So there's some really unique scenarios that you can create, and there's a lot of power here. This is all we need to do for now. We have our tags, and now we can jump over to Visual Studio and actually do the integration. And I did do a little prep here, full disclosure. I figured it wouldn't be fun to watch me install NPM packages, so I did go ahead and install some tracker packages. You can find the references to these on our docs. So we have a tracker core package, a browser package, and a React package. This is the Next.js app, so we're using React here. We don't ship a Next specific app. So we also have a CLI. The CLI has one command, which we'll be using to actually pull down the manifest data from Uniform Optimized and actually embed in our application. So we'll be using that CLI up next. So first thing I need to do, though, is actually get our API key again and actually install it, use it as an environment variable. So if we go to the API keys, we'll just use the same API key on our application for now. So I'll just come in here, paste our API key, and this is used because we need to download our intents from the API, and this is going to write out our JSON representation of our intents to an intent manifest stored in a JSON file in our lib folder. So this gets embedded when your application is built. And we really recommend that you actually run this command every time your Jamstack site builds, or as frequent as you feel like you're going to be changing your intents in Uniform Optimized. So we have our API key configured at this point, so I'm just going to do yarn generate intents here. And this will go to the API, download the JSON, and it's just going to drop it in our lib folder here. And you can see this is just the JSON representation of our intents that we configured in Uniform Optimized. So we have our intent ID of the developer, we have marketer, and that's all configured the same way. So at this point, we just need to create an instance of our tracker that we'll be using on our site. So we need to create a new file here in our lib folder, and we'll call this local tracker. And we need to first start by importing a function that we ship. So it's in our browser package. And this has a little helper in here that will give you our default configuration. It's called create default tracker. This has plugins registered for it to actually handle all the signals that you might consume. The tracker is very pluggable, and you can actually add and remove different pieces depending on your needs. So we'll just create an instance of this tracker. So we'll call it local tracker, and we'll call create default tracker. And then we're just going to export this local tracker. Cool. And the only thing we're required to pass into the tracker is actually the intent manifest. So we're just going to import that. So we're going to do intent manifest, and we'll go from, and we're just going to import that JSON file into this file. So this gets bundled and built with our application. So that's all we need to do to actually configure the tracker. This is the bare minimum you need to do. So that looks perfect at this point. The next thing we need to do is we need to wrap our application in a context that allows us to access the tracker from inside our Next.js app. So there is a tracker, there's a React package. So React package, and we have a uniform tracker context available here. So we're just going to take this and we're going to create an instance of this, and we're going to just wrap our entire application in it. So we have the ability to access the tracker throughout our application. And the only thing we're required to pass in here is our configured tracker. We don't really have any insight into that without being passed it. So let's just pass in that tracker that we just created from local tracker. And this just gets passed into this tracker instance. So now we've passed the tracker that we've configured. We have full control over the configuration of the tracker, and we're passing it to our context, so we have access to it inside our application. Go ahead and click save here, and if all things are well on our blog, we can just quickly refresh, and we should see some log messages. So we actually see the intent manifest, and we see some broadcasting scoring. So I don't think we have a new score right now, and we can actually check that. We did just soft launch a beta internally of a Chrome extension. So we now have the ability to actually view our intent manifest summary in our Chrome extension. So you can actually see how your application is configured. And you have control over aspects of this Chrome extension and how it reveals the intent manifest as well. So we have a developer intent, and we can see that it has a behavior signal baked in and has a strength of 50 in there as well. So that's great. That's as we would expect right now. But now we actually need to do something with the tracker. And we said before that we wanted to push behavior on each page. So the site is just set up on a page level. So we're just going to push behavior whenever this particular component is loaded. So we're going to go back to that React package. And we are going to use a hook that we ship as well called use behavior tracking. And we are going to use that. Have a fun little shortcut there, save me a couple steps. So we call use behavior tracking. We're using the post object, and we're passing in this uniform intent field from contentful. And I just want to console log this too, because there's nothing magical happening inside this field. This field is just JSON, and if you wanted to actually push behavior based on an object you create yourself manually here instead of from contentful, you can. So we'll just console log that just to see the output of it, and kind of demystify this a little bit. So that's all you need to do to push behavior into tracking. So when a visitor hits this page, it's going to push behavior into the tracker, and that will get recalculated on their scores. So we go back to our blog now and go and consume this all about Visual Studio Code. Sorry, I think I put some large images in here. So I'll go consume this article, and we see that we've have scoring broadcasted to us. Actually, it didn't. Oh, sorry. One more thing. We needed to actually retrieve this field from contentful as well. So we just need to add it to our actual contentful response. This particular contentful uses GraphQL, so you need to select this. If you're using the API, you automatically get that field returned to you based on your depth that you're selecting. So now we have the field. So if you go back, give it a little refresh, we should have this now. So now we're targeted as developer. We have signal matches, and basically said we've matched this developer. And if we checked out the Chrome extension as well, we're now developer 50, which is exactly what the console is telling us as well. So that's great. But now we actually need to do something with those classification scores. We need to actually put them to use, and we want to do that on the homepage and actually provide that personalized experience on the homepage. So let's go to the index.js. In this particular example, they're using just a list of the posts that come back from the API, and they're using the first post in this list as the hero post, and then the rest of them just fall down to the more stories component. So let's go ahead and just change this a little bit. We'll do some light modifications in here. This is just one way to do it. There's many other ways you can do this personalization as well, but this is perfect for here. So we do ship a personalized component from the React package. So let's see, lots of useful things in this React package. So we have this personalized component, and we're just going to go ahead and use this component. That's great. And then we are going to, the only required field here is we need to pass a list of variations. So let's just pass all posts for now. We're going to change that in a second. And then this uses, actually, let's do that right now. So we need to transform our post slightly. The tracker expects one field for doing this type of personalization. It needs to know the intent tags that are associated with a particular variant that's being passed in. So we need to do a little map on the actual data that's being passed into it. So we just need to do, let's see, get this map function here. So basically, we're just transforming our all posts object, and we're just pulling out this intent tag. You know, our tracker doesn't know about this contentful field that's called uniform op tag intent tag. It doesn't know anything about that, but it's expecting an intent tag field. And then we can just map this and just spread the rest of the post on the object so we get the rest of the post back. So we can pass this in here. And by default, you only get one variant back. Generally, you know, you might be looking for the most relevant particular variant that you pass in. So we just need to provide a count in here. And in this case, you know, we want to personalize an entire list. So we just want all of them back that we pass in. And this will provide the list in a sorted way. That's most personalized for the user's intent strengths. So there's a really handy render props method in Personalize. You can pass it a function, and this will actually pass you a couple of different things. It'll tell you if it's personalized or not, the variations that came back from the personalization, and there's a way to do a component factory type personalization with this personalized component. And if that's configured, we're not going to do this in this demo, but if that's configured, it'll actually pass you React components as well that you just need to render out to the page. So that's possible to do here as well. And this method's actually really neat because you can actually control the output of the the actual items that get returned back. So you have full control over how they behave. So in this case, we're just going to get this variations object because all we care about the data is the data at this point. So now we just need to sort of restructure things a little bit here. So let's just go ahead and we're just going to lift and shift these particular components here. And at this point, we don't need these. We don't need to display them twice. So that's great. But the only other thing is we're still pointing at this hero post and this more posts up here. And we just need to remap them to actually use our variations, our personalized variations. So we'll just do hero post. And then for our more posts, we'll just spread the rest of the post on here. And we will use our variations prop that we're getting passed. So we've remapped these variables at this point to hero posts and more posts. At this point, we can go ahead and delete this. We're not using those anymore. So remapping the posts and then consuming the posts, consuming them down here, and remapped it to our variations object. That's it. Click save, and we are a developer now. So if we go back to the home page, we should see developer theme posts first. So let's just give this a refresh. So now we have our Visual Studio Code post first, our second developer theme post second, and then we have our marketing theme posts, which aren't as relevant to us because we have not consumed any marketing material. So that's exactly what we wanted to happen, and that's perfect. If we actually went and cleared our application storage in Chrome extensions, clear site data, refresh. So at this point, we'll have our we'll have our developer theme posts, and we'll have our our marketer theme post now, and they won't be sorted because we don't have any personalization scores on the site. So if we went and consumed this marketing material, came back, now we have marketing posts first, developer theme post last. So it seems like personalization is working here. So that's exactly right for behavior personalization. And I just want to show one more signal. I want to actually show the query string signal as well. So we're going to go over here back to our uniform optimize. We're going to go to our developer. We'll add one more in here. So we'll add query string, and we'll just call this UTM campaign developer. Call this UTM campaign. Thank you, autocomplete. And I did say that you can control the strength, and maybe this is really strong. Maybe this is something we really want to key off of. So we're going to go ahead and click save here. So now we have two signals into this one particular intent, and that's perfect. We just need to first go ahead and regenerate our intent manifest from the API. So this is pulling down all that new JSON to represent that new signal. Actually didn't publish it, so it is not going to download it. So now I'll download it, and our intent manifest should be updated at this point. So now we have two signals on a developer. If the query string is an exact match developer, then we're going to boost based on this strength that's associated with this signal. And we still have our behavior intents as well, and our marketer intents down here as well. No query string down there. So this probably, so now we've come to the site. We're still marketer, but if you go to UTM campaign developer, this is going to reclassify us because developer is now the most representative. It's a stronger signal, so it took over marketer from our rankings, and now we are a developer once again. So the last thing I really want to show here is just an option for configuring the tracker. There's a lot of options for configuring the tracker, and you can actually change where you actually store data. And there's a kind of a unique thing that I was playing around with last night, getting ready for this demo. So we have this uniform tracker. We actually ship a couple different storage methods. Default is IndexedDB, but we also have in-memory storage as well. So you can change where certain things are stored. And in-memory will allow it to only persist for as long as the visitor doesn't navigate away from the site. So we can actually take this, and we can actually pass this into the tracker. So we can go, so we can do storage, and you can pass in a couple different storage methods here. We use cookie storage quite a bit because it actually has some pretty interesting use cases. But let's just do in-memory storage. So there should be no scoring there. So there should be no data stored essentially after we navigate away from the site. After we've done client-side navigation, it should stick around for that. But once we've left the site, we'll no longer have any scoring in our as saved. So if we come back over here and get rid of this query string, because we're no longer pulling from our IndexedDB, we can come over and consume this marketer content, navigate back. I'm seeing marketer content now because I haven't really left the site. I'm just using client-side navigation with Next.js. But the moment I actually leave the site, my scoring is gone. We're only keeping stuff in memory in this particular way because we've configured storage that way. So you have control over where you store this scoring. So it's really powerful, and there's a lot of control that you have over where you actually store this data. So we ship some default options, obviously, but it's very extensible. Last thing I want to highlight is we're part of the Mac Alliance at Uniform, and we participated in the Macathon recently, which is a hackathon dedicated to really showcasing Macathon style sites. And we did a variation on our starter that integrated BigCommerce, integrated Algolia, and we really tried to push the boundaries of personalization. We call this our hyper personalized site. I'm just going to click through a couple different scenarios here and show you how it works, and show you kind of the scenarios we came up with and some of the power that you can some of the powerful scenarios. So first, we'll just look at behavior. So you click the developers. We're going to consume this developer content. Go back. Now we have our developer themed hero. Our talks have been resorted. These sourced from Algolia. These have been resorted based on our classification at this point. So we'll only see developer themed posts or predominantly themed developer posts. And our merch has even been personalized as well. So we have a developer magic wand. I wish I could use that on my code sometimes, but we have a hoodie theme for developers as well, and we have some other developer themed merch items down here. If I went over here and clicked for marketers as well, so now I'm part developer, part marketer. Come back and the talks have been repersonalized for me, focusing on the talks that address both. So they take both into consideration. And now our merch is also kind of shifted as well. I'm no longer a developer, I'm a marketing technologist. So there's a lot of interesting scenarios there as well. So this kind of demonstrates the sorting of multiple intents and taking those into consideration. If I went and actually clicked into one of these hoodies that have options in here, so we have color options. You could like a black hoodie, maybe your preference is blue. The moment you click one of these, you can now personalize based on this sort of, it's a kind of intent that doesn't have any direct signals associated with it. We're calling those enrichments right now. So it's not a full intent. Enrichments are meant for say taxonomy, and I can kind of show you how those work. So if I log into our site and just show those real quick. So our Macathon site, and click this settings in here. So we have some enrichments in here. You can define categories. So we're leveraging these. These kind of list the taxonomy types. So we have color, taxonomy, and category. And in this case, these things kind of match up with our big commerce products. So we're able to use these. And these actually would show up on Contentful as well. So maybe you have content that is associated with this particular enrichment. Maybe you want to target, really refine your targeting and actually focus on people who are interested in this subsection of this category or taxonomy. You can model those out here as well. So if I go back, you can see that the hoodies down below have now changed. We're now seeing blue because I love blue, and it's now changing. If I went gray, we'd also get some gray hoodies as well. My mom was a developer, my dad was a marketer. That's a good one. So maybe I'll buy that later. Yeah. So let's see another scenario. We added commerce elements to this as well. So if I come in here and add a conference ticket to my cart, and go ahead and now I have my conference ticket in my cart, and maybe I want to keep browsing the site. Now can kind of indicate that you do have something in your cart, and maybe we can show a prompt that says, "Hey, are you ready to check out? Don't forget to check out." And if I went back to our cart and actually remove this from the cart, we would get instant updates on our site. And now I would see the marketing technologist hero again, because we'd be reclassified and we would drop our scoring from this particular intent by just that action of removing it from the cart. And we're using event-based signals in this case, where we can actually trigger this the tracker directly, not doing it through behavior tracking at this point, but actually feeding in scores directly to the tracker. And in this case, we actually use pricing to actually do that. So you can go pretty far with personalizing, and we had a lot of fun building this out and participating in that hackathon. So I think that's, I did want to quickly show the Algolia integration. I think we have time for that. So I did want to quickly show this. So this bottom component is personalized by Algolia, or it's an Algolia query that we're feeding some boosting into. And the best way to illustrate this is sort of to open up developer tools. And if we actually just refresh the page and go to our network tab, just see some of these queries that go to Algolia. You can see that we're actually transferring scores to Algolia through facet filters. So basically, we have, on our Algolia results, we have sort of this intent tag field, and basically we can say like when this item we can transfer the scores from the tracker. So I'm currently classified as developer 150, marketer 150 as well, looks like, and I have some scoring on my hoodie as well, the color for my hoodie as well. So we can add facet filters in here and boost based on our score. So we transfer those scores into our Algolia query, and they have a nice little helper function on their facet filters that allow you to assign arbitrary scores to the actual matches. So you can indicate that I want to give this particular, if something matches, I want to boost it by 150. And if something matches this, 150 and then 50. So that's how we sort of end up there. And they build on top of each other as well. So if you have, they're additive. So if you have something that is developer and marketer, it'll be boosted first and end up being first on the list. So they are additive. So if I actually went over to the preview of the results that come back, and we'll just go to the first one. You do get the scoring back if you asked it to, and we are asking it to right now. You can actually see that the scoring is reflective on this item, and this current result is currently ranked, or we're boosting it by 350 because it's been the values have been added to this the ranking info for this particular result item. So we had a lot of fun building that, like I said, and it was a great time. And hopefully that demonstrates a lot of the power behind some of this personalization. And just to conclude here, so you can get started right now. We have a free tier available. It has enough intents, and it comes with a site to get you started. And you can upgrade it, of course, if you want to, but it does have enough intents to help you get started with personalization immediately. And you can do the same things I did today on the free tier as well. So a couple quick tips, I guess, for personalization. These are just some advice for, you could personalize based on behavior, tag content in contentful using uniform tags, and then you can show most relevant content. You can use events to actually trigger, which we kind of showed on the Macathon site. You can build journeys through the tracker as well. So if you have intents that build on top of each other, you can kind of model those out through intents as well. Campaigns, query string inbound campaigns as well. We also have some integration for Salesforce Marketing Cloud, where we can actually target specific email campaigns that come from Salesforce Marketing Cloud that come in the query string. We have support for that as well. That's a premium signal, but it is available as well. So get in touch if you're interested in that. And possibly personalize based on cookie values as well. So maybe there is a third-party cookie, or maybe some other or cookie that another part of the site drops on the page. You can consume that and key off that on particular signals as well. So that's it.